how difficult is Greek? So, this might not have been a language you thought I'd be doing, but I've always found Greek kind of interesting. It's not a language I speak, but I do know some basics of it. I know the alphabet. So yeah, I'm just going to do a video on that one. A little bit about it to begin with. Greek is spoken by around 13 million people, so it is definitely not a widely spoken language. Most of these people speak it in it's the official language of Greece and Cyprus, but it's mostly spoken around Southeast Europe, kind of in the Balkans region. So Italy's obviously not in the Balkans, but it's spoken in Albania, Turkey, and a few other countries around that area. Greek is also the principal language of its branch, so it is the only language in the Hellenic branch of the Indo-European language family. So you might have seen in other videos where I've listed all of the branches of the language families. Greek is the only one in the Hellenic branch, and the reason for that is because there are no languages that are currently spoken that are similar enough to Greek to be considered in its branch. So a lot of languages Greek has evolved from have died out, such as ancient Greek, obviously. There's Cypriot Grekish. I think there's Byzantine. There's a few other languages that Greek has evolved from that have since died out, and there are plenty of other languages Greek has been influenced by, which we'll talk about later. But yeah, modern Greek is largely descended from ancient Greek, where it inherited the bulk of its vocabulary, so it does take a lot of words from ancient Greek. A lot of people wonder the difference between them. I actually didn't fully know. I had to look it up. Ancient Greek allegedly had a lot more diphthongs, which is vowel combinations, and other things that can make it really more difficult. So modern Greek is easier from what I've been able to see. But Greek has the longest documented history of any Indo-European language. So it is 3,400. There's 3,400 years of written records in Greek, and the Greek alphabet is 2,800 years old. I believe because obviously you might look at that and be a bit confused. Before the Greek alphabet was used, there were other scripts Greek was written in. So the Greek alphabet is actually not as old as the Greek language, which is interesting. But yeah, Greek has also been one of the most influential and impactful languages in history. So many Greek texts have impacted vocabulary of English. There are plenty of words in English that come from the Greek language, such as democracy is one of them. That comes from two Greek words, demos and kratos. Greek texts have also impacted politics, art, science, math, philosophy, literature, theatre, and many other disciplines. There's really no end to the things the Greek language and Greek culture and history has impacted. It has certainly been a very important society and language. We're going to mostly focus on the language because that's probably what you're here for. But, moving on, how difficult is it? So, this is interesting. It's not the easiest language, but it's certainly not impossible. So Greek can be a challenging language to learn, but overall there are much harder languages further east, such as Mandarin, Arabic, that kind of thing. Greek does use unfamiliar grammatical features, so there are parts of it that do not appear in the English language that can sometimes make it difficult. Obviously it uses a different alphabet. I'll talk about that in a second. So that throws kind of a wrench in things a little bit because you need to learn another alphabet, unlike languages like Italian and Spanish, and there's also some different pronunciation a lot of the time. But overall, the Greek alphabet is one of the easiest to learn. I actually know the Greek alphabet. I'll probably try and do it off by heart in a second. It is, along with Russian, it's probably one of the easiest alphabets to learn for English speakers. It's much easier than like Japanese or Korean, obviously, because there's way more things you have to learn there, and they look completely different. But yeah, the Greek alphabet does use some foreign sounds. There are some diphthongs, as I said before, which is where you combine vowels, like how in English you can combine O and U, and it makes that ow sound, that kind of thing. So yeah, that can be a little bit difficult for beginners, but overall it's not too difficult. Greek also uses 4 cases, so it has nominative, accusative, genitive, and vocative, which is opposed to English, which uses 3, even though you probably wouldn't know that because most English speakers, we don't really use case that much. But yeah, that can make it difficult for people speaking Greek. The sentence structure is usually subject, verb, object. So if you took an English sentence, I eat the apple, you've got I, which is the subject, eat, which is the verb, and then the apple, which is the object. So this is generally the case in most languages and in Greek as well. But the case system does allow for some flexibility because the word ending can change, inflect to kind of show the purpose of the word. It means the sentence structure doesn't have to be always that way. But yeah, Greek also uses 3 genders, masculine, feminine, and neuter. That's not unheard of. I think we've talked about that in a few other languages like German and Russian. But yeah, because the Latin alphabet was derived from the Greek alphabet, there are many similarities, which you'll see on the next slide, with the actual Greek alphabet. So it can make learning the Greek alphabet not too difficult, in my opinion. I learned it, I think, in maybe 1 or 2 sittings. That might be a little bit faster than most people, but overall, it isn't that hard to do. Some of the letters, as you'll see, make a different sound to what they look like they would in English, but you kind of get used to that as well. And yeah, to summarize, Greek is not a really challenging language like Mandarin Arabic or some of the African languages. It is more complex than the European ones. You might be the most popular European ones, but overall it's not that difficult. But I will try and do the Greek alphabet off by heart. I do not have notes with me at all. I know you can't verify that, but I'm not going to cheat. I've got the alphabet on the next slide here. So I think is it 24 letters? Alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, zeta, eta, theta, iota, kappa, lambda, mu, nu, xi, omicron, pi, rho, sigma, tau, upsilon, phi, chi, psi, and omega. I'm sorry if I can't pronounce them all properly. That was just from the source I learnt from was pronouncing them that way. If I'm saying any of them wrong, very sorry, I'm not a Greek person, but I believe I got all of them right. That looks like 24 to me, and I don't think I screwed any of them up. So, yeah, that's the Greek alphabet. It is not too difficult to learn overall. It doesn't look that difficult either. It's just a little bit different. And yeah, it is really cool. So, should you learn Greek? Yeah, I think it can be both fun and useful. But it depends. So given its position as one of the oldest and most influential languages, Greek is extremely important historically. So if you are kind of into the history and that kind of side of things, it has impacted many intellectual, historical, and religious fields. Obviously, a lot of religious texts were written in Greek before they were written in English. Probably almost all of them, as far as Abrahamic religions go. Yeah, it would be all of them. I don't know what I'm talking about, sorry. And so, yeah, a knowledge of Greek would be helpful to any scholar in that kind of way. Although you do have to consider that only 13 million people speak Greek, so it is not that widely spoken of a language. If you're fine learning a language and not having like massive amounts, like hundreds of millions of people speaking it worldwide, that's fine. But yeah, I just think you should know that before you go into it. Greece is also a beautiful country to visit. I have never been there, but I have friends that are Greek. I have friends that travel there on holiday, and it's meant to be a really nice place to visit. So yeah, that can be cool as well. It has a lot of history to it too, that's just common sense. And even knowing just the Greek alphabet is cool, I think. So if you don't want to learn the Greek language, that's fine. I don't speak it either currently. I may learn it eventually. But you should definitely learn the Greek alphabet. It is really not that hard to learn. And the cool thing about learning the Greek alphabet, that's the same with the cool thing about learning the Russian alphabet, is that you can write messages in English using that alphabet and codify them. So you can write stuff in the Greek letters and people can't read it usually, which is really cool because I've like friends that are also into this and you can pass messages to them and people can't read them, which is kind of a bit silly, but it's cool as well. The only thing about that is they don't have letters for everything. Like there is no Greek letter for H per se, so you might have to agree upon kind of cheating where you'll have he down the bottom, which is the X. It's got like a guttural h, like in Loch Ness. You could kind of say that was the H and that kind of thing. But yeah, it doesn't completely make sense, but I think that's cool, and I've done it as well. Greek also has some awesome mythology, and a knowledge of Greek can make that more enjoyable to read about. I just thought I'd put that there too. Greek gods are pretty interesting. There's a lot of books and stuff like Percy Jackson, which are kind of based off that. So yeah, I think that's cool as well. To close, Greek is a beautiful and interesting language, and although only a small amount of people enjoy speaking it natively, learning it could allow you a much better experience traveling and studying Greek history and that kind of thing. So yeah, I think it is a cool language. Obviously not the most spoken or popular, but it is pretty cool in my opinion. They have a cool flag as well, I will say that. Greece, the country of Greece, has a really cool flag. But yeah, just thought I'd let you guys know because we are closing in on 100 subscribers. I was planning on doing a 100 subscriber Q&A, so if you wanted to comment anything below or in any other video, any questions you wanted to ask about language learning or me or the channel, anything is above board really. Just say you want to comment with the question you want it to be in the Q&A video and I will deal with that there. But yeah, if you could like and subscribe as well, I would appreciate that, and I hope you enjoyed it and learned something.